Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some more Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth for you today. And once again, a quick thank you to all the community so far for the support you've had for my channel. Keep smashing that sub button. It's really important for the growth of the channel and really helps me bring you guys all the best content that I can possibly bring you. And in saying that, today we're going to have a look at the shadow side of things. Now, if you missed my last video on the light side and why it's important to start with them, I'll leave a link at the end of this video so you can check that out. It's really important. Now, obviously, I can't cover every character in the game. This is mainly focused on the free-to-play aspect of the game, so everyone can grind and unlock these characters as they go. Obviously, if you want to spend money, you can unlock them as soon as you want to and build whichever teams you want to build. At the moment, the best team in the game is probably the goblins. They are so difficult to beat, but they are stuck behind a paywall, so we're not going to touch on them. The other thing, there are 3 Nazgul in the game at the moment. They are not accessible anytime in the early game, so again, we're not going to touch on them in this video. But the team that I am going to show you how to progress towards could very well be one that can compete with the goblins, so stay tuned for that. The team you're watching at the moment is the full Mordor team, except for that goblin in the top left there, which they just give you for this particular mission. Now, putting this team together is not one that you're going to be able to do right from the very start. It is a little bit of a progress. However, I will show you what characters to start with, just to start to build your way through that shadow side without wasting too many resources. In one of my first videos, I did talk a lot about the Isengard team and how much I liked them. Over time, I've sort of realized they're probably not going to be the most effective team in those early stages. They are okay if you do want to invest a lot into them. They could be strong, but you will have to put a lot of resources into them, which you're just not going to have in the early stage, and I don't really think it's worth it. Until they introduce someone like Saruman or Lurtz or someone like that that might just be able to pick up the damage that they can do, then I probably wouldn't go spending too much on the Urakai and the Isengard team. However, some of them will still feature early on simply because some of them are very easy to get. I'm not going to go into huge detail, so let's just get a briefing on the first one here, and that is Ogluk. Now, Ogluk will be the first one that you'll come across when you unlock the guild missions. So I think it was around about level 10 where you unlock guilds. As soon as you get there, even if you like to play by yourself, start your own guild and set it to invite only so no one else can join, but it will give you access to the guild missions. Uglook will unlock in the very first mission when you complete it, so he's basically a free character, so why not upgrade him a little bit? You can see here I've got him up to 6 stars, but do not have the resources to go to 7. Do not do that. You can unlock him, leave him at 1 star for now, only give him all of the green gear because we're going to eventually sub him out, so you don't want to waste too much on him, but you will need him strong enough to carry you through to some of those other nodes. So all the green gear that you can put on him should take him to around about gear level 4. Upgrade his abilities maybe to level 2 at the most, and that will be pretty much the same thing for a lot of these starting characters. You only want to do the minimum just to get you to that next level. You can upgrade his level as you go until you start to swap other characters out, because saving your gold for later on is going to be so crucial in the early stages of this game. Don't waste it on promoting some of these characters that you're not going to use for very long. So all you need to do is unlock him, then you can move along and start unlocking other characters. Which actually brings us to the next one, and that's your Dunlin Marauder. Now, he's only in the 5th node along in the first guild chapter, so you'll get to him pretty quick. He unlocks at 1 star, which is only 15 shards. You'll be able to unlock him pretty quickly and add him to your shadow side team, just to start moving that one along just a little bit faster. Again, you don't need to put a lot into this guy. There are only 3 Dunlin characters in the game at the moment, so you're not really going to be able to build a full team with them anyways. So once again, 1 star, green gear only, level 2 abilities maximum, level him up as needed, mainly because he's going to be the first one that you'll swap out of the team anyway, so again, you don't want to put too many resources into him. Now, as you move along, get to the end of that first chapter, you're going to come across this guy. The Urakai Ironhide, you've probably seen him in all of my videos so far. I really like this guy. I wish I had have put more resources into him early on. You will find him on node 9 of the first chapter of the guild missions. The only thing about him is you will have to grind him out a little bit more because he does take 100 shards to unlock. So he will unlock at 3 stars once you get him, which is perfect for that starting part of the game. But once you get to him, make sure you keep grinding that node until he is unlocked, because he is going to be a major part of the team going forward. Now, for resource sake, I don't think you really need to promote him past that 3 stars. Make sure you level him up as you go. You can put as much gear as you can into him, upgrade his abilities. He can do a lot of damage, and his passive ability there, Child of Mordor, that's the one that you want to upgrade to level 4 first, which will be the first one that you put any of those purple upgrades into, mainly because that will give him buffs from everyone in the team, not just Mordor members. So technically he will have synergy with any other character that you put with him. Even if you're doing a mixed team with light side and shadow, he can still work with all of those characters as well. So he's really going to be your focus in that early part of the game for the shadow side. Now, another one that I have mentioned before is Oglook's tag team partner in Moria. Maybe it's Moher, I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's what we're going with anyways. You can find him as soon as you get to the light side hard chapter 2 in that very first node. Again, another one that's very easy to unlock. So he only takes those 15 shards, you can unlock him. And you can just leave him at that 1 star. Don't worry about promoting him. Very much the same as Uglook, just the green gear, level 2 abilities. If you need to put a little bit more levels into him, maybe a little bit more gear, you can do that, because him and Oglook, they are a good team together. But if you're going to replace them, you don't want to put more than what you have to into them. If you do need to build any of those characters up just to get to some of those later nodes, then that is fine. You can put more into Uglook and Moher. But honestly, that Olig is really going to carry the whole team anyway, so it's just about getting the rest of the team just to survive those battles more than anything else. And to help survive those early battles, once you get to the first hard node for the shadow side, which those previous characters will be able to get you to quite easily, you will unlock the Urakai Wound Binder. Now, I do like this character quite a lot, because not only is he a healer, but he can also hit pretty hard. The only downside is he does get targeted quite a lot and can die pretty early on in the fight, so you need to be able to protect him. So putting a little bit more gear into him if you need to isn't a bad thing, but again, you don't need to promote him necessarily. You can leave him at that 1 star. If you need to get him up to 2 stars, it's not that expensive to do, it's not that hard to grind out, so don't be afraid to do that if you need to. But upgrading some of those abilities, he may be a little bit more useful in other teams moving forward because he is a healer. But the biggest problem with him is you're going to need to gear him up to a very high level just to make sure that he does survive all of those battles. But in the early stages, he will do the job for you. Now, I have previously spoken about the Isengard Captain. He's a little bit further down the track to unlock, but to make him viable, you have to put way too many resources into him, so I'm going to recommend that you skip him and just move straight on to this guy. And that's Shagrat, the captain of Cirith Ungol, is here, And this guy has the potential to do a lot of damage. He can even sacrifice the members of the team that are almost dead. He'll just kill them off completely in exchange for a huge amount of damage. Like, it can be insane how much damage this thing can do. And I've only got it leveled up to level 3 currently. So once that is maxed out, that is going to be a huge amount of damage. Pretty much a one-shot type attack. But again, this guy will need quite a bit of gear just to make sure that he survives the battle. But he will replace your Dunlin ding first and foremost. And to unlock Shagrat, he's actually one of those ones that you don't get in a node at the moment. You'll actually find him in the arena store. Now, obviously, you're going to have to wait until the arena unlocks before you can get to this, as well as the stores themselves. So there's going to be a little bit of leveling up to do just to put yourself in a position to be able to unlock him. But as you can see, the arena tokens come in thick and fast, so you won't be caught short. It'll only take you 3 days to be able to unlock him, unless obviously you use the crystal refresh, but you don't need to do that. After those 3 days, you unlock him at 1 star. It's easy to farm him up after that. But again, in the early stages, don't promote him past 3 stars. Even if you do keep collecting shards, that's perfectly fine. You just don't need to upgrade him past that, simply because of the cost of the gold. But all other upgrades are perfectly fine to add to him. Again, you want to gear him up just to make him a little bit more tanky, do a little bit more damage, just so he can survive those battles a bit better. But now we move on to the next guy, and that's your Mordor Slasher. Now, at first glance, he doesn't look like much. You can unlock him pretty early. The first node of the Shadow Campaign Hard 2. So he's going to be fairly early on. Unlocks at 1 star. Nice and easy to get. At first, you're going to think this is a weak little orc that probably won't do much, until you take a little bit of a deep dive into him. Now, yes, you will have to put some gear into him because he will die quite early. He is kind of weak in that regards. But where he shines is in his attack. That little blade of his can do more damage than the Olig spear. And just to show you, I'll actually take you through his moves just so that you can see the kind of damage this guy can dish out. Especially once you do have him leveled up, got a bit of gear on him. You can see that very first attack, I've only got it at level 3, but it's already at 145% damage. So when you have this fully maxed out with all 6 upgrades, he's going to be doing 225% damage just off his basic attack. And if you think I sound excited just off his very first attack, you wait until you see some of the other things that this guy can do. For his second ability, he gets 2 hits at 90% damage and also inflicts weaken, which reduces their armor by half. And once it's maxed out, you get 2 hits at 160% damage each and weaken for 2 turns. He can actually do that every 3rd turn. So you can hit this as your very first attack for him, and then it leaves the enemy open to some pretty serious damage that he can follow up, or other characters in the team can follow up on whoever you target, which is great for anyone that taunts. And if that's not enough, we move on to his 3rd move, which even at level 3 already does 240% damage and inflicts bleed for 1 turn, which will do passive damage after that. And once maxed out, it'll do 290% damage, as well as inflict 2 stacks of bleed that will last for 2 rounds. Now, you can't use this in the first round, but once you get it in the second round, there's only a 3-round cooldown. So using that in conjunction with your second move, it's basically move 2, move 3, move 1, and keep going like that. You can circle around doing massive amounts of damage as you go. But if that's not enough for you, we go and have a look at his passive ability. So if the target has any banes on them, or debuffs as they would be called in other games, you gain 5% crit chance, and if you do hit a critical attack, you gain 15% turn meter. On top of that, once it's maxed, you get 35% crit chance and 35% turn meter gain. So he's going to be hitting very hard, very often. If he's getting critical hits in, especially when he's already dealing such big damage at the same time, he could be one insane member to have in your team, which is one thing that I really like about this orc team. And that's not even including any of the synergy with any of the other characters at the moment. This is just his abilities by himself. Someone like Shagrat actually adds another 10% damage and 10% crit chance to all of the Mordor team. So that's something extra that this guy's going to have on his side as long as Shagrat stays alive. There's also another character that will add more damage as well that I'll get to shortly, but the next one that we're going to have a look at is the Mordor Engineer. Now he does look a little bit funny with his little welding mask on, just so you know that he is an engineer and he is serious about it, but you can get him in the light side hard battle in the 3rd chapter, sort of halfway through. So this is one of the reasons why it's important to get that light side happening quickly so you can get through those chapters and unlock some of these characters. So there is a chance that you might have this guy a little bit earlier than some of the others, but that's perfectly fine because he's another guy that's going to be doing that AoE damage, so he can damage multiple characters at the same time, whether it's a target and the adjacent characters or the entire enemy squad at the same time. So very similar to the way that Olig can do the same sort of thing. Those attacks also have burn damage and poison damage as well. So there's a lot of passive damage going on as well as the initial impact. Again, you will have to put some gear into this guy for survivability and also for that extra damage, because you really want him to pack as much of a punch as possible. His 3rd attack there, the AoE attack, also has bonus damage if there's already burning on the opponents. So if you hit them with that 2nd ability, then the 3rd one, you can do some bonus damage there. The other thing with him, once you get to level 4 on his passive ability, he has a chance to give a deadly buff to one of his other Mordor squad members, and that will actually increase critical chance by 30%. So if that ends up on Mordor Slasher, again, that guy has the potential to really destroy the opposition very quickly. So as a squad, these guys are already building to be a real opposition to some of those really annoying goblin teams out there that have a lot of taunting and things going on, a lot of healing. They protect each other, then they regenerate. They're a real pain to fight. So the quicker that you can get through some of those guys, the better it's going to be. And this Mordor team is really shaping up to be one of those oppositions, which actually brings me to the last piece of the puzzle here, and that's the Mordor Taskmaster. Now this guy will literally whip your team into shape. Another one you're going to have to put a fair bit of gear into because he can die quite quickly. He tends to get targeted a fair bit, but he is your healer as well as calling assists. And also with his passive ability at level 4, he'll also give all of his Mordor squad members an extra 15% damage if they're attacking targets with Banes or debuffs, as you might like to call them. So with all the poisons and burning and all that sort of stuff, weakens, there are so many debuffs that these guys can hand out. When attacking those opponents, they can really start to pack a lot of damage in. Now that completes the Mordor team, but there are 2 others that you will unlock along the way that you might be able to sub in somewhere and have a little bit of fun with, but I probably wouldn't put too many resources into them unless there's some kind of synergy that you come across that seems to work really, really well. And the first one is the Moria Troll Handler. This guy has a lot of healing abilities, regeneration, immunity. He can put a lot of buffs on your characters, synergizes with both orcs and with trolls as he levels his abilities up, but he will take a little bit more to unlock. and he'll also take a lot more gear and resources to be effective and just to survive those battles. So it's probably not worth it, but you will come across him and may be tempted to gear him up, especially alongside of the next one that we're going to have a look at, and that's the Troll Stonebreaker. Again, unlocks at 2 stars, the same as the Troll Handler. Overall, he's not a bad character to have, as you would expect. He can do quite a lot of damage, a lot of AoE, but I can tell that the gears are already clicking over in some of your minds, thinking that you'll make a whole troll team out of this. Now that does sound good in theory, but you have to take into account that you can only have one large character in your squad at any given time. So you can't run both trolls in the same team. Now I do think that the Urakai is just a little bit better, and alongside the synergy with the Mordor team, the Urakai is a way better option to take rather than going down the road of trying to level up this particular troll here. But by all means, unlock these characters when you get a chance. It never hurts to have them there ready to go, just in case something changes in the game and you need to introduce these characters in there. You don't have to go back and farm them, they'll be ready and waiting for you. Just make sure that you're not packing resources into any of these characters when you're not using them. The temptation will be there, I guarantee you. Just focus on the teams that you're actually going to use, and then if something changes later on, then you can refocus your energy onto other characters. Now in the next video, I'm going to be showing you a little bit of the farmer's journey so you can see how to unlock Sam, and there's a lot of things that you can get in that particular mode, so I'll go through that a little bit. It won't be as long a video, so I appreciate your patience with this one. If you're still here, thank you very much. You guys are absolutely awesome. I appreciate the support. So don't forget, like and sub, you know the deal. We've got plenty more Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth coming your way. So don't miss out, and we'll catch you in the next one.